Okay, so this class has been doing really well. Overall, for the first quarter, the overall class average is an 86% for final grades. That is super high, okay? Really, there's not much changing this quarter. I've added one thing, which I'll talk about. But for the most part, you come in, you have your notes, I'm ready to go, start our homework, everything's on Canvas. College Board is your new, favorite website. You're on it all the time. That's where your progress checks are. That's where your quizzes are. And now your daily videos. And when I say daily video, it doesn't mean you have to watch one every day, but they make them for a lot of the lessons. So last week, you guys kind of got a shock when I loaded you up with all of the Unit 1 daily videos. Those are not an assignment. They're not required by me to be watched. I'm not going to be checking. But I put them in your wherever so you could at least see them if you wanted to go back and review anything, especially when we start getting ready for the exam and you're like, wait, I don't remember A-Rock. I don't know what she's talking about that. I need to go back and review that or, increasing, decreasing, all that stuff. So these videos are 5 to 9 minutes long typically, and it's just somebody else besides me showing you what we're doing. And they're very, I feel well done and explained well. They're teachers. And when I say that it's an assignment, you get 5 homework points for each video. So for 2-1 to 2-3, it is 5 total videos, and it's due on 10/24. And there's no assignment with it except to watch it. There's no questions or you don't have to summarize it or anything like that. It literally will just show on my screen, Tyler Johnson watched. It says watched, not watched, okay? And so on that date, I add up however many you watched, and I give you those homework points. So it's easy homework points for you. What qualifies as watching, having it run on your laptop, to be quite honest. I wouldn't know if you really watched it. But I'm hoping that those of you that need help with a section will really use it as more review, okay? So that's the only thing that's new this quarter. So we should all understand the rhythm of this class. You know how fair I am about the test grades and how the reviews are just like the tests. You can keep counting on that, okay? That's not going to change. And by the way you guys did this last quarter, if you got an A or a B, think about what you did that you're going to continue to do. Where are you at a B or below and you want to bring it up? Think about what you could do differently there too. The board is a great place to look for all of what's going on, what section we're in, what on the cheat sheet you should be filling out, the homework for the 2 days, what's assigned assessment. We have a quiz opening on Thursday, closing the next Thursday. I'm giving you a whole week to work on these quizzes. Don't get a 0 on them. A lot of times there's time in class because I'm building in these work days again, where there's no new notes or anything. We get to work, ask for help. Maybe you missed a day, you need time to work on a quiz, whatever. I'm doing that again this quarter. Homework check next Tuesday and those daily videos. But if you're like me, I don't remember when the quiz is due. I don't remember when the daily videos are due. If you go into AP Classroom, it says the due dates. So you don't even have to ask me. It says it right there. Okay. So pretty much that's it. And I belong to 3 AP Pre-Calculus Facebook groups, and we all nerd out all the time and talk about problems and, why is it this? And my students are having trouble with this. And so in a lot of states, because this is a new course for everybody, right? This is the first year this class is being offered, so there's a lot of talk about, what is College Board asking with this? And we think this will be tested. But anyway, in certain states, and even part of our state, there's schools that started before us, so they're further along. And what I'm hearing from my colleagues in other states and stuff is that Unit 2 is much more digestible for students. Unit 1, we've all kind of complained it was a lot. There's a lot of new stuff. It really verged on calculus level. And a lot of them are saying that Unit 2 students are really responding favorably to and finding it to be more relatable to Algebra 2 kind of material. And just this morning in the 2 classes I taught it, they were kind of saying that too. So I think this will be a little more comfortable for some of you that felt a little last quarter. Okay. So let's start off fresh. Everyone's starting off good footing. Let's do well. All right. So what we're doing today and tomorrow is talking about sequences, and sequences are simply just an ordered set of numbers. Like if we talk about like even numbers, 2, 4, 6, 8, that's a sequence. It's predictable. You can figure out what the next number is. The perfect squares, 1, 4, 9, 16, 25. We can predict the next number. Another sequence, add 10, subtract 5, multiply by 2. But you do that every single time. That's a sequence, okay? Specifically, we are going to talk about two types of sequences, an arithmetic, and that's how you say that, arithmetic, and geometric. So today is going to be about arithmetic, and tomorrow is geometric, okay? And some of this is going to sound familiar, I think, all right? So within any type of sequence, we have infinite and finite. So infinite and finite. So infinite is kind of like all real numbers where it goes on forever, okay, forever and ever and ever. And finite is like when I say, oh, we're only using on the x-axis from -6 to 6. It's a limited number. It has a beginning and an end. Infinite goes on forever. And there's some like new terminology and notation. You know, this class is a language. We have to know how to speak it and say it and read it. And the way we would say these is a sub 1, like subscript a sub 1, a sub 2, and so on. A sub n is an unknown. We don't know what it is. And those ellipses at the end, the 3 dots, means and it keeps going, and so on. So like, for example, using the even numbers. This is a sequence, right? And we know it keeps going. And so a sub 1 is 2. That's the first term. A sub 2 is 4. That's the second term. A sub 3 is 6, and so on. Okay? Blah, 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 blah. Don't worry about that. Write this. An explicit or general formula is used to find the nth term of a sequence. Meaning, if I have a formula for this and I want to find the 10th number in the sequence, I could just plug a 10 in and find it. And you might be like, well, it's just easy to go 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, just count up to the 10th. But what if it was 110th or the 1000th term? So with the explicit or general formula, both words are used, it's what I call like the skip ahead in line. I want to know the 100th term in this sequence, and I don't have to go all the way up to it. It jumps ahead and lands right at the 100th term, okay? So in this first example, they're giving us an explicit formula, and they want us to find the 12th term. So really simple, guys. You plug in 12 for n. To find the 12th term, we would plug a 12 in everywhere we see n. And the rest of it's just calculator or in your head work, and I don't need to see the steps. You can do it all in your calculator or your head and just go right to the answer. But don't forget your order of operations, multiply before you add, and we would get a sub 12 is 100. So given the explicit formula, find whatever they want us to find. So we're learning explicit formula or general formula means I can find any term number that they ask for. Yeah, there's an electric one there and on the wall over there. Here's a new one, and it wants us to find the first 4 terms. Okay, so a sub 1, a sub 2, a sub 3, and a sub 4. So all I have to do is plug in, go ahead. Everywhere I see that n, I'm going to put whatever term number. Order of operations, calculator work. 3 times 1 is 3, minus 4 is -1. 3 times 2 is 6, minus 4 is 2. 3 times 3 is 9, minus 4 is 5. Excuse me. 3 times 4 is 12, minus 4 is 8. So there's the first 4 terms of the sequence. Right? Case 1 is 3. Learning the language, the terminology, the notation. Let's just do another one of these. Really, I mean, it's going to be very hard to mess these up. unless you do your order of operations wrong, you put in negatives or fractions in your calculator wrong. So I really want you to pay attention to that as you work on the homework and stuff. A piece of advice for you is to, anytime you have to deal with fractions, and we will, in this lesson, in this section, use parentheses around it. A lot of times you don't need parentheses around a fraction, but sometimes you do. So if you just put parentheses around a fraction, it's never going to hurt your answer even if you didn't need it, but it would hurt your answer if you didn't have it. So you'll see what I mean when you get into some fractions. Just if you're putting in 1/2, do parentheses 1 divided by 2, close the parentheses. Okay, and we really shouldn't have to pick up our calculator for these negatives. When you do a negative number to an odd, you're going to get a negative answer. So -1 to the first power is -1, plus 5 is 4, -1 squared is 1, plus 5 is 6, and so on. -1 to the third power is -1, plus 5 is 4, -1 to the fourth power is 1, plus 1 is 6. Okay, new formula given in example 3. So we're going to take this and plug in, they want just the first 3 terms. They could ask us for anything. If we have that formula, we can find any term. First so many, or jump ahead to the 100th or the 11th or whatever. That's what this formula is good for. Notice everywhere I have an n, I'm putting that term I'm trying to find. So just order of operations, parentheses, then you multiply, then you add. Right? 1 minus 1 is 0. 0 times 5 is 0. 0 plus 4 is 1. 2 minus 1 is 1. 1 times 5 is 5. 5 plus 4 is 9. 3 minus 1 is 2. 2 times 5 is 10. And 10 plus 4 is 14. So if you need your calculator, fine. Don't, fine. But you don't have to show work. Okay? Last one of these, the 11th term. So plug in 11 for n. So notice n is the subscript on the a, so a sub 11, but then it's just the actual number 11 in the formula. They're both n. Okay, 11 minus 1 is 10. 10 times 5 is 50. 50 plus 4 is 54. Okay, so explicit formula. Pretty simple, right? Plugging in numbers, simplifying. Okay. Now, what if they don't give us the explicit formula? What if we have to find it ourselves? That's our next concept. And what we were just working on was, there might have been some arithmetic sequences in there, but they were just sequences, just some kind of ordered set of numbers. So now we're going to talk about specifically arithmetic sequences. Arithmetic sequences have the same differences between terms. And I'm going to come back to this formula in a second on how to find D, which is the common difference between consecutive terms. Consecutive means right in a row. We age consecutively, right? We're born, then we turn 1, 2, 3. They're consecutive. So 2 and 3 are consecutive numbers. 5 and 6 are consecutive. 5 and 10 are not consecutive. Okay, they have to be right next to each other. So I'll come back to how to find the D in a second. And we have some fun formulas here for the explicit or general form. Now these two words are interchangeable. We're just working with the explicit or general form or formula. And there's one more that's used, and that's the general term. So I just want you to know that all three of these mean the same thing. It's like someone named Jennifer can be called Jennifer, Jen, or Jenny. Same person, just different words, names to call the same person. So explicit, general, equation, form, general term. Okay. Now there's two formulas. This is the one, which I'm going to show you in a second, is the traditional one that you might have learned in other classes. This is like the updated version. They are the same thing. They're the same exact equation, just simplified. And I'm going to show you exactly what I mean by that in this first example, okay? Then I'll go back and explain what the letters mean. If I try to explain all those letters right now, you'd be a little confused, okay? So, example 4, is the sequence an arithmetic sequence? So they're giving us an ordered set of numbers, and they want to know, is it arithmetic? So to be arithmetic, we're adding the same number as we go left to right between consecutive terms. So to get from 1 to 5, and 5 to 9, and 9 to 13, we have to find the D, which is the number you're adding each time. Sometimes it won't be. You'd say, no, it's not arithmetic, and move on. If it is, we're going to write the general rule, which is this. General term, or rule. There's lots of words again. Okay, so looking at this one's pretty simple, right? We can tell as we go left to right, what are we adding each time? 4. But what if you couldn't tell, right? Because there's going to be ones that have decimals or negatives, oh my gosh, fractions, oh my gosh, so this, going back to that D formula, if we add left to right, what do you think we do from right to left? Subtract, opposite, right? So to test to see what the D is, pick any two consecutive numbers, meaning next to each other, and subtract them right to left, like 5 minus 1. I get 4. Try another 2, 9 minus 5. If I'm getting the same number every time, which I do, that's enough, I know that my D is 4. You can test it. I'm subtracting 4 right to left. Does it work going left to right? Adding 4, 1 plus 4 is 5, and so on. Okay? So that's a way to test the numbers if you can't just tell by looking at it. Okay? Now, so we know, yes, it is. Yes, it is an arithmetic sequence. So we're going to write the formula. So I'm going to show you both of these, right? And then I'm going to show you that they're the same exact thing. You can use either one, and you'll see I use one or the other every time. I kind of switch between them. So in that first equation, in both of these, n is the number you're trying to find, so we leave it blank. You don't plug anything in for n. So that first equation, a sub n, equals, and we're going to call a sub k the first term. Okay, so a sub k right here is the first term. And the first term given to us is 1. D is 4. Then there's parentheses. Remember, we don't plug anything in for n, both places. And minus k. What would k be in this problem? 1, right? Because we're calling a sub k a sub 1. So k is 1. So a sub n minus 1. It's not because this is a 1, just so you know. This could be 3, 5, negative 1,000. This one is because it's a sub 1, the first term. Okay? But in this form, you have to simplify it. So I would distribute 4 times n is 4n, 4 times negative 1 is negative 4, and then simplify. There is your general form, general term, explicit formula. Could you have written as negative 3 plus 4n? Of course. Okay. But now you could use this to find any term. Try it. Plug in a 2, we should get 5, right? We know the second term is 5. 4 times 2 is 8. 8 minus 2 is 5. Okay, looks good. Okay, so that's using the first formula. Or we could do this one, which I prefer. It's a lot less work. What we need is the D, we've got that, and a sub 0. So think about what that means. If we know that a sub 1 is 1, how would we find the one that comes before it? If we're working right to left, what would we do to find a sub 0? Yeah, so a sub 0 is my first term going backwards. I'm ready to write the entire formula. There's no work to do. Watch. A sub n, remember we just leave n blank, equals d times n. D is 4, leave n blank, empty. And then plus your first term. Well, plus negative 3 is kind of awkward, right? I'm just going to write minus 3. So as you can see, guys, they're the same thing, okay? Both are perfectly fine to use. This one I tend to use more often personally because I don't want to have to distribute combine like terms. There's no work. The only thing I have to do is find the term that came before the first one, okay? But you will see when you get to the homework here in a few minutes, you'll see some questions I did this one, sometimes I did this one. It doesn't matter. You can change it up if you want to. And I'll show you again what I mean, okay? So here's a sequence, and they want us to find the 46th term. Well, I could keep going, figure out my D, and then just keep adding that number until I get to the 46th term. And this is a true story. I remember taking the SAT as a 17-year-old, Countryside High School student, and not remembering how to do this, and I did. I remember being around all the edge of my, so embarrassing to talk about, my workspace, where I had to find the 99th term. And I didn't remember the formula, so I just sat there and added the same number until I got to the 99th term. I probably got it wrong because, you're bound to make a mistake. So we don't want to do that. So you can add, what are we adding here? 3. Okay, another one that's pretty easy to see. 2 plus fingers, whatever. But you can test it. 5 minus 2 is 3. 8 minus 5 is 3. So D is 3. All right? So we want to find the 46th term. I'm not going to do what I did in high school and keep adding 3 till I get to the 46th term. Explicit formula jumps ahead in line. I want to go straight to the 46th term. That means I need the formula. Okay? So I'm going to do the easier one for this one, but I will go back and forth to show both methods. So I'm going to use the second one. So I need the D, got it, times n, and then I need a sub 0. So if a sub 1 is 2, I would subtract 3. Right? It makes sense. It would go negative 1, then 2, and then 5. It should be less than 2. There's my explicit formula. Now I can find anything they want us to find. They want us to find the 46th term. Okay, I'll just plug 46 in. And put it in my calculator, and I get the 46th term is 137. Okay. So giving us different parts of the, like in example 5, they gave us the actual sequence. Here they're giving us pieces of it. Find the 9th term, right? That's what they want us to find. When the first term is 8 and the common difference is negative 5. I'll use the first formula this time if you want. The first formula, a sub n equals the first term plus, and sometimes we put the D at the back instead of at the front. It doesn't matter, okay? So you can put, just know you're multiplying the parentheses times negative 5. You could put it in the front or in the back. So I'm just going to show you it could be in the front or back by doing it in the back this time, but you're going to distribute. So there's my explicit formula. So just take a quick second and think. If I had used the other one, a sub 0 would be 8 minus negative 5, or 13. There it is. And now they want us to find the 9th term. Put that in my calculator, and I should get a sub 9 is negative 32. Okay, so again, either way you want to use that formula is fine. Okay, just know you'll see either one worked in the notes. With one last example. Any questions so far? You getting this pretty good? Okay. You just have to really understand the terminology. what all the little subletters mean and all that stuff. Okay, we're skipping example 7, going right to example 8, our last one. 7 is just more of the same thing. It's a little redundant, same thing over and over. And there's word problems in this section, but don't be afraid of them. They're not bad at all. They're pretty straightforward and easy to understand. So the number of seats in the first 16 rows of an arena form an arithmetic sequence. If there are 20 seats in row 1, okay, I can decipher that. That means A sub 1 is 20. And 23 seats in row 2. How many seats are in row 16? That's what we're trying to find. So, what's D? 3. I'm adding 3 each time. And I'm going to find A sub 0. So if I'm adding 3 to the right, I subtract 3 to the left and get 17. And now I can just write the formula. A sub n equals 3n plus 17. So I'm using the second formula in this case. I want the 16th. And again, all calculator work. So there's 65 seats in the 16th. Okay. That is it. Okay. So get to your practice set 1, And what we do in quarter 2 is call all of our homework assignments by the letter B instead of A. So B1, I'll surprise you with what I use quarter 3. You never know. Oh, I'll just tell you the first 2 periods, everyone is doing 9 to 15 all, so you might want to just, which is fine, you can do more if you want, but if you want to save yourself some work, maybe put a light little cross out of them so you don't do them. Okay. I'll put the mark in a second. There's the first 8. Are you talking to Dylan? Oh. have to do both.